Okay, this is an A2P 10DLC registration guide for HighLevel. If you have no idea what that means, this is probably not the right video for you, but if you do know what it means and you are looking to get your registration completed without any issues and get approved basically in the first attempt, then this is the video for you, and I'm going to dive in and get right to it. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that HighLevel has this support document that's actually pretty darn good. They call it their A2P 10DLC campaign approval best practices. I've linked to this down in the description where you can check it out. And to their credit, if you follow everything in this best practices guide, you will not get declined. I've gone through this process countless times for clients, registered countless campaigns, and I've never had an issue because this is a very comprehensive guide that tells you basically everything you need to know. So I encourage you to check it out, but in the video today, I'm going to walk you through the process and show you why if you just follow exactly everything I'm going to show you, I can maybe save you some time from reading that document, but I do still recommend it. To get started, we're going to go into our settings here and we're going to go to our business profile, and there's some things that we absolutely need to fill out. The information here is going to be pulled into our registration forms, so we need to fill that out here in order for it to be pulled in, and it's just good to have it on file here anyway because it gets used in multiple places. So put your legal business name. This is the one that you have on your tax documents. This is the one you submitted to the IRS when you got an EIN. If you don't have an EIN, I really don't know how you're going to get approved. I would say you're probably not right for this video. In most cases, you do need an EIN now. The rules have changed. You used to be able to do it as a sole proprietor without an EIN, but even as a sole prop, you should get an EIN anyway. But you need the EIN and you need to have your legal business name that you used. I'd recommend you fill out all this information. It also gets pulled in, and then particularly down here under the business information section, you're going to need to put in your business type. Pretty simple. Whether you are a corporation, an LLC, partnership, whatever you are, select what you are. For your business industry, pick the one that closely matches. Usually you put something like this on your tax documents anyway. For your business registration ID type, most of you are going to choose USA for the EIN. Again, I don't know how you would possibly do this without an EIN, but I guess if you're in one of these other countries, choose the one that applies to you. Now where it says business registration number, this is your EIN, put that here. You're pretty much not going to get approved if you don't have a registered business, so that has to happen. And then choose your region of operation. Then over here under business physical address, you need to put in what is on your tax documents. Don't put your home address if it's not on your tax documents. Don't put a PO box or a mailbox if it's not the one on your tax documents. This stuff does get checked. And again, if you put it here, it's just going to be pulled into our registration process. For the authorized representative, I do believe this gets used. Just put you. It's probably a good idea to put whoever is, again, on the tax documents as the representative of the business. If this is you, put you here. Okay, that's it for our business profile settings. Now we're actually going to go into the phone section. So we're going to go to phone numbers under settings. Now you can go ahead and you can register a number first. It doesn't really matter. So you can go add phone number and you can find one that you like. When I typically want to find a local number in my area, I'll say that I want to find it at the first part of the number, and then I'll put in the area code. So if I wanted a Sacramento number, I'd put 279, and then I'd hit apply, and then it would find all these Sacramento numbers for me that have the 279 area code. And you can see they're pretty cheap. They're about $1.15 per month for the local numbers. If you want a toll-free number, which we're going to go over in just a second because it's infinitely easier to get approved for toll-free, you can just say toll-free. I would recommend getting rid of the filter here and hit apply. And this is going to show you the 877s, the 833s, the 888s. I think there's 855. Yep, there it is. So that's going to show you all of these numbers. And these are a little bit more expensive. These are basically $1 more per month. But overall, pretty cheap to have a number that you can call, text, and send multimedia images, basically like photos and stuff too. So this is pretty good. All right, so choose a number that you want. You can get it now or you can get it later. It doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and go over to the Trust Center tab now at the top, and you can see a couple things. So the first one here is that A2P messaging is unverified. That's why you're here. Go ahead and scroll down and click Start Registering Now. And now we're going to go through the process, and you're going to see why I should have filled out all that information under the business profile. We'll go ahead and click Continue. And now if I come down here, you're going to see, okay, it would have been nice had I populated all that information because now it's asking for it again. And I could have just had it in one place and basically skipped this step. So they're going to give you some help here. Again, they're saying enter the exact business name, etc. So I'll go ahead and start filling all this out, and then I'll show you and we'll skip ahead. Okay, so I have all of my information filled in here. I'll go ahead and click continue. The next screen is for your business address. Again, this is exactly like it appears on your taxes. And since I did pre-fill this information, it's already populated, so I can hit continue. And then lastly, this is where you need to enter in, I didn't do it, but this would be populated with the representative. They do put a note here that you can use this email for up to 5 brands. The way that I set it up at my agency is we only have typically 1 campaign per client in most cases. So this limit of 5 is not a big deal. But you would go ahead, enter in all of your contact information. Now in this next screen here, this is where we're going to choose whether we are doing low volume or high volume. If you choose high volume, you're basically asking for more scrutiny, but no matter what, you still have to have an EIN. So I would recommend in almost all business situations that the customers that I work with, 6,000 segments is quite a bit. A segment is roughly about 160 characters, give or take, for stuff that you include in MMS. So if you took 6,000 and divided that by 160, that's roughly about 37 text messages, give or take, per day. So if you think you're going to exceed that, then definitely choose higher volume. Higher volume at 600,000 segments per day gives you closer to like 3,700. So you make that choice. Just realize if you're asking to send more text messages per day, then you need to understand that you are going to pay more, not only for the registration, which is a one-time fee. The low volume has a registration fee of about $24. The high volume standard has almost triple that at $68. So you're going to pay more there. And then you pay the additional $3 for the fast track program, regardless of which one you choose. And then each one has a campaign fee of $12 per month, which is just fees that go directly to the TCR. And if you aren't familiar, the TCR is the campaign registry, which is what basically is the regulatory body that manages all of this stuff. So choose the one that you're interested in. You can acknowledge that there's going to be a registration fee. We'll choose the low volume one and then just hit continue. And now we've reached the part where really the only true mistakes can happen, because up until this point, you've just been entering facts, right? You've been entering your name, your EIN. Those things are like, they're concrete. Hopefully you don't get declined because you put the wrong EIN. But under the campaign details, how you're going to use text messaging, this is where most people just absolutely get it wrong when it's super, super easy. So this goes back to that guide that I showed you at the very beginning, right? They're going to tell you all about things you cannot do, things you have to do, best practices, right? Everything that we're going to fill in is covered in this document, but HighLevel takes it one step further, and they literally put examples in the fields. And they literally put this drop down here where you can click the copy button and use this exact text. You just got to change some things. In most cases, I just use the top one or the one that has the most information, but you're going to want to make sure that it applies to what you're doing. So before we start going with that though, let's just choose our campaign use. In most cases, low volume mixed, because I'm on the low volume. If you're on the high volume, you're high volume mixed. If you choose low volume mixed, that means you're going to send a mixture of customer care messages, maybe some notifications, maybe some marketing information. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to send various types of text messages at your business. If for some reason you know that this campaign is strictly only for two-factor authentication, which would be a little bit strange given that it's high level, if you know exactly what your use case is, then select it. But in most cases, going through high level, I recommend the low volume mixed, just like they do. They say it's recommended, and that makes most sense. Now for our use case description here, go ahead and click the C example, and let's just copy this first one. It's the one I use practically every time. And then let's just paste it into this box, and let's just read the information. Because the use case, they're asking for you to explain in detail what you're using this text messaging campaign for. So the example says this campaign sends appointment information. If that's not correct, change that, right? Maybe this campaign is doing something else, but whatever it is, put the actual thing here. And then you can do whatever you want here, like confirmation and reminder messages, things like that after they've booked an appointment, with company name. You need to replace company name. So I would say if my company's name was Demo Business, put Demo Business. I have had A2P 10DLC registration fail because I did not put the actual name of the registered business inside of these boxes. For example, if your business is John Doe MD LLC, but you just put John Doe MD, you will get declined. Why? Because they're looking for John Doe MD LLC, even though it's not what you normally call your business. They're looking for that in this area. So if you are Demo Business LLC, include the LLC. That doesn't mean you're necessarily going to have to put Demo Business LLC in all of your text messages, but according to the official rules of the TCR, you need to. All right, let's keep going. So they opt in on the website to receive promotional and notification SMS from Demo Business LLC. exactly like it appears on our taxes, exactly like it appears in our business details that we put 2 steps ago. So there you go. Describe exactly what you're planning to do. Don't give them more information than they need. Just use exactly what this example says. Now with a sample message, this is basically going to confirm what we stated in our use case. Don't put a use case that doesn't match your sample examples, and you have to give 2 of them. So let's go ahead and just see the examples here. Here's an example that says, "Hi, John, this is so-and-so from company name. Your appointment is confirmed." And this other one just says, "Hi, this is so-and-so. I'm following up about our meeting yesterday." That's a pretty good one. I would copy that, put that in here. Now, here's a couple of keys here, right? So the name that you're using here doesn't really matter. You can put any name. It doesn't have to be the representative, but you do need to put your business name here. So I'll put Demo Business LLC. I'm following up with you about our meeting yesterday. Would you have a time to discuss this today? Please. Now this part you have to have. Please reply, stop to cancel. HighLevel will automatically add this in for you. You don't have to worry about it. And after your first message is sent to them, they're not going to see this again until I think a certain period of time between getting text messages. So there's sample 1. Let's go to sample number 2. And let's just take this first one. And let's take this first one. Let's give them another type of example. Doesn't matter. You can take either of the examples, but depending on which ones you choose, you need to be careful. Hey, Brian, that's the person's name. This is Jane. And I don't know if I said this, but you always need to include, according to the TCR, like it says right here, again, just follow the instructions, must include the lead's name, your name, the business name, and opt-out language. Now, this is interesting because it says it must include the lead name. I don't think that's actually true. In many cases, in fact, their own example, I think it was this first one here, right? "Hello, this is Adam from Demo Business." There's no lead name here. But if you want to be super safe, why not just go the extra mile and say, "Hello, Doug, this is Adam from Demo Business." It doesn't hurt to do that. So in this one, "Hey, Brian, this is Jane." Perfect. Lead name, your name, business name, right? We'll take this company name and we'll replace this with Demo Business LLC. I see you weren't able to make our appointment. Would you like to reschedule? Giving them a link, press stop to unsubscribe. You have to change this. You have to make this your website, and I highly recommend this be an actual page that matches the use case. Don't make things up. If this is not a good example, switch to the other one, right? Switch to this example here and say, "Hello, this is, Doug." And I would actually put the lead name in. Why not? Why not follow the rules? "Hello, Brian, this is Doug. We're confirming your appointment tomorrow at 9 a.m. Again, it should match my use case here. My use case said that I'm sending confirmation reminder messages. There we go. These match the use case. Something else that I highly recommend is that if the message will include an embedded link and you've checked this box, go ahead and include an embedded link. So for example, we're confirming your appointment tomorrow at 9 a.m. You could always say, if you need to reschedule, you can call us at, and then give your real business number, or you can say you can text us at or reply to us at, and then go ahead and put a number. And I've actually used the number that we purchased together a few steps ago at the beginning of this process. Go ahead and put that number in there. There's nothing wrong with that. So go ahead and fill out your messages. And again, just literally copy these and just change the information to match your business use case. But I do recommend you include these checkboxes. And I do recommend, if you're going to include links, I would recommend one of these have a link in it and one of these have a phone number in it, because it just seems a lot more realistic. I've never checked these last two because I've never had anyone that does age-gated content as defined by the carrier guidelines. Probably a good way to get declined if you do. And this other one, lending and loan arrangements, I haven't worked with any clients that do those, so I have never checked these boxes, but I suspect these are going to subject you to more scrutiny. But okay, after you've filled this out the way that you should, go ahead and hit continue. Now the other one, it was pretty easy to make mistakes, putting in the wrong business name, maybe not kind of matching your use case to the examples that you gave. Here's where most people get denied. And it's in how your leads give consent to receive messages. So under our examples here, this example is pretty good. So if we copy this example here, let's paste it in. End users opt in by visiting, put your actual website here, right? /book or whatever it is, but wherever you link them to, anywhere that they would opt in. And in fact, I'll go as far as to say anywhere where you're collecting their information, you have to follow some rules. And those rules are pretty much described here, right? So they fill in their details, they check a box to receive notifications, that has to be an optional box, and promotion messages to provide their consent. So there's some specific rules that are outlined here under this A2P campaign approval guide. Let me show you an example of exactly what they're looking for. Okay, so here we are in the HighLevel form builder, and this is a very standard form that I use on all my client websites. You can essentially put whatever you want in the form, but the part we care about is the two checkboxes down here and the privacy policy and terms of use at the bottom. You need to have both of these. A recent change was made where they wanted you to get explicit consent to receive occasional marketing communications, assuming that's what you're going to do. And they want that to be separate from just the standard, I consent to receive SMS notifications. Now, the language here is very important because it matches what the most recent update from the carriers says you have to have. Both of these checkboxes need to be optional, right? Because they're consenting, they're not being compelled. And then what you can do on the back end is you can create tags or whatever you want to do, custom fields that can be associated and triggered by workflows when these are submitted that say, okay, did they consent to either or one of these, whichever ones they did, tag them or put the custom fields in place to trigger other workflows to say, whether or not they should be D&D on SMS, etc. You can add the checkboxes, at least one of them, by using the TNC block, terms and conditions block here, which is this one at the top. And you can just edit the text here. Then for the other one, because you can't have two terms and conditions blocks, the other one I just put in with like a checkbox. And then under options, you can just make the label, the option basically that they're selecting, have that be here. And in both of these, you need to have your business name. Now for the terms of service, terms of use, terms and conditions, etc., and the privacy policy, you need one of those terms and you need the privacy policy. You should have both of them here, and they need to be directly below the form. It's not enough to just put them in the footer on your website. It needs to be here as well, particularly where they're consenting. I have seen people get declined for not doing this. Now, inside of HighLevel Support Portal, they also have a documentation for what you should include inside of your terms of service. This is different from the privacy policy. I've got something, in fact, I've got both of these that you can just cut and paste. I'll put a link in the description where you can get those. But essentially, you need to have this in your terms of service or terms of use, terms and conditions. Basically, they've put the placeholders for you. I've made this available for you to copy. But this needs to be in there, basically verbatim. And you also have to pay close attention, both inside of your privacy policy and your terms and conditions. They state it right here. Do not have words like share, sell, affiliate, third party. These are trigger words for their algorithm or whatever tool they're using. If you have any of that info inside of either your privacy policy or terms and conditions, you should remove it because you're probably going to get declined, because they're very sensitive these days about people selling information. And it's possible that you purchased a boilerplate TOS or privacy policy that has this stuff in it, so you need to be careful and remove it. Now, in addition to the minimum requirements for the TOS, there's also the privacy policy. And again, I'm putting a link in the description where you can just copy and paste these. It's totally free. You don't even have to opt in. And that should make it so that you're compliant for the minimum requirements. Okay, so now that we've discussed the form and adding the two checkboxes, and we've discussed adding the privacy policy and TOS and what you need in them, let's go ahead and come back now to our A2P registration, and let's fill out the information that they're asking us for. So end users opt in by visiting. This is where you would put the link to the website page, the specific page that has this form on it. You should already pre-configure this form even before you've been approved. Pre-configure it, have all of this on there. So assuming this is where you link to, and assuming that this information is correct, users check a box to receive notifications. I would alter this slightly and say users check a box to receive notifications and a separate box to receive promotional messages. I would say promotional or marketing messages. Get rid of this part here. It's poorly worded in my opinion. So I would say users check a box to receive notifications. I would say SMS notifications, and a separate box to receive promotional or marketing SMS messages. Keep it super clear. And then this part here, it says additionally end users can text, unless this is true, in which case you'd need a whole workflow built into HighLevel for it. Unless this is true, just get rid of it. And that's how leads are going to consent. Now for the opt-in message, go ahead and just copy this verbatim, paste it in, and then just change your company name. So this would be Demo Business LLC. And I recommend you don't change anything. Just leave it like that and move forward. Now, the last step is for you to hit submit. And that's it. You have submitted your A2P 10DLC registration. All right, at this point, you have completed everything that you need to do for A2P 10DLC registration. I have seen some clients get approved in under 2 days. I had one just the other day get approved in less than 24 hours. I was kind of surprised by that. You do pay this fee to be expedited, but it's all just dependent on how many people are in the queue to get approved. And usually, I mean, I'm also, just like I have a client who literally took less than 24 hours, a few weeks ago, I still have a client who hasn't even been reviewed yet. So I don't really know what causes some businesses to get approved in less than 24 hours and others to take weeks to get approved. I think that one's an outlier, but I will say on average, it's safe to assume at least 5 business days to get approval. And something that I might have to do for this client now that's been waiting a few weeks, if it does go that long, typically you can reach out to HighLevel and they can check in the system and see what might be causing the issue. I will say that A2P 10DLC registration, you're going to be scrutinized. They're going to go over all the details that I went over. There is a slightly easier method to start using SMS inside of HighLevel, and that's to not use a 10DLC. That's the local number, basically. If you're willing to use a toll-free number, the registration process is much, much simpler. And for the vast majority of my clients, unless one of them really has a problem with the toll-free number, which by the way, most businesses are using toll-free numbers, but if you have a problem with those or you have a client who has a problem with those, then you're stuck doing what we just did. But if you're okay with toll-free numbers, let me walk you through that process and show you just how much simpler it can be. So let's come back into our numbers and let's go ahead and add a phone number, and we're going to add a toll-free number. So this is going to be not a local, but a toll-free, and we'll just hit apply on our filters and we'll just pick one. Pick this number at random here. And you're going to get a notification that says toll-free numbers now require verification. This used to be the Wild West and it didn't matter. You could just get one and go for it. But now they have to be verified. So we're going to click this verify this toll-free number button. So unlike the A2P 10DLC registration, this process goes much faster on the approval side, as well as it's a little bit simpler here on the registration side. So let's go ahead and continue to our business location, pulling in that same data that we've already filled out. And now this is all we have to fill out. All they want is our estimated volume. So if you say, I'm going to send about 1,000 a month, you say they're going to opt in via web form. What's your use case category? I would say go for, you can select multiples, I believe. Yeah. So I'd say select marketing and then select account notifications and customer care. These 3 right here are the 3 default that I select every time. Opt-in workflow image URLs. You don't actually need to have screenshots here. You could actually literally just put the actual link to a contact page or link to an opt-in page that has this form on it. So if they're opting in on a contact page or let's say you have a lead magnet that they opt into that you collect SMS data on, wherever that form is at, you need to put that link right here. Now for our use case description, just copy the example. Just choose one of these that looks good to you. I choose the first one, right? Copy that, put it in. This number will be used to send appointment information. Does this look familiar? It should. It's basically the exact same thing. Edit this how it makes sense. We've already gone over that. And then for the message content, this is the same as one of your 2 examples that you would have had to do for A2P 10DLC registration. In here, we're just going to copy the first example. We're going to paste it in. We're going to change our company name. And we're going to change this phone number. I recommend changing it to the number you have just purchased. But you can put any number you want here. Or a trick that I've been doing lately is just to say, please give us a call or text if you need to reschedule. That seems to work just fine. And then you just agree to the terms of service. And this one, I rarely have one go longer than 3 business days without getting approved. However, you are just as likely to get declined if you put the wrong business name inside of these, or if you put the wrong business name here. This is just that final reminder, don't put a DBA. For whatever reason, DBAs get declined. You need the actual legal entity name. I had one get declined the other day because the client did not want to put their full LLC on there for whatever reason. It got declined and they had to submit again, which isn't fun. But that is a much, much easier method, and there's a lot less scrutiny involved, and chances are you can get a toll-free number approved and no one really cares what number you're texting them from. All right, so I hope that was helpful in getting your A2P 10 DLC or your alternatively easier toll-free numbers verified so that you can use them for SMS through HighLevel. If you need additional help, I've included links in the description to other workshops as well as my HighLevel tutorial playlist and where you can get additional help from me setting up HighLevel.